Hello, a very big welcome to all the participants in my session of this refresher course. It's a privilege for me to be able to interact with you and to share with you some of my knowledge on the topic that I'm going to discuss with you today, and that is probiotics. So, as we all belong to science, and I understand that this is a science refresher course, so I'm sure that this word is not new for you. Probiotics has been in use since long, but there are various features associated with it. There are various conceptions and misconceptions associated with it. So today I thought it good to be discussing this topic with you and to share some knowledge with you. So the topic for today's talk is probiotics, the wonder bugs. And I'm Dr. Nipa Pandhi, Associate Professor and Head, Department of Microbiology, Sri M.N. Virani Science College, which is an autonomous science institution in Rajkot. We know that in a healthy animal, the internal tissues, especially at the time of birth, it is totally sterile and normally free of microorganisms. But the surface tissues after birth comes in constant contact with the environment, people, objects, etc. And as a result, the outer surface very readily gets colonized by various microbial species. These species are of various colors, various sizes, various shapes, various origin. In fact, it is of a varieties and varieties. The mixture of these organisms, which are regularly found at any anatomical site, is referred to as the normal flora, except by researchers in the field who prefer to call them as indigenous microbiota. These indigenous microbiota or these normal flora can be of three types. Number one, the resident microbiota. Number two, the transient microbiota. And number three, the opportunistic microbiota. What are transient or what are resistant or what are resident? Let's have a look at it. Normally, those which stay with us from the time of our birth till the death, they are residential normal flora. Those which comes and goes as per the change in the environment, as per the change in our location, they are transient. Opportunistic are those which are generally our friends. They don't harm us like residential flora. But when opportunity knocks, for example, when you are suffering with some primary infection, when all your energy and your immune system is working towards protecting you from that primary infection, these normal flora becomes mischievous and they try to harm you. So they are opportunistic pathogens. The normal flora of human belong to various groups of microbes, like few are eukaryotic fungi, some are protists, some are bacteria, but bacteria are most numerous. The human body is made up of around 10 trillion cells, but hosts 100 trillion more microbes. For example, our body is made up of 10 raised to 12 cells, and we are housed to, we are residents to more than 10 raised to 13 microbes. That means there are 10 microbial cells per cell of your body. The vast majority of cells living on or in our body are bacteria and some other microbes. Now, where man and microbes meet, it's a dynamic interplay. 400 square meter surface area is the surface of a tennis court, and 2 million genes in the bacterial genome versus 35,000 in the human. Why do we take 400 square meter surface area? Because that's the skin area that is covering our body, equal to one tennis court. There are 2 million genes in the bacterial genome, such a huge number versus 35,000 in human. 10 trillion living bacteria in the human intestine only. Over 500 species in human colon only. Significant crosstalk between bacteria and host always occur. One bacterial species can turn on more than 100 genes in our body. Tall receptors on dendritic cells or macrophages can recognize this. This is how our immune system gets triggered, and this is how we show response to them. Gut contains a complex neuroendocrine system, lots and lots of hormones and enzymes and juices, and everything gets extracted or gets secreted into our gut region, where there is a myriad of microorganisms. Majority of them are friends of us. As you can see, this is our stomach. Predominant flora are either in the esophagus or in the stomach or the small intestine, actually the duodenum area that you can see very clearly. So stomach has around 0 to 10 raised to 3 colony forming units per ml. They are generally gram-positive aerobes, lactobacilli and streptococci. This is intestine. Small intestine has proximal ileum, as you can see very clearly. It houses aerobic gram-positive bacteria, and the distal ileum, it is a house to 10 raised to 11 to 12 colony forming units, mainly gram-negative anaerobes. So that is what we call as our large intestine, or the portion from where the large intestine starts. Colon, which is the actual large intestine, is again a house to a very huge number of microorganisms. They are varieties like bacteroids, eubacteria, Peptostreptococci, E. coli, Bifidobacterium, Fusobacteria, and many more. What does these normal flora do? Why they are there? Are they needed? Definitely yes, because they help us in digestion, production of various essential vitamins. They are responsible for mucosal maturation. They stimulate immune system to produce immunity. They help attachment of various immune complexes, intestinal transit, and colonization resistance. They do not allow the pathogens to adhere to our organs, to adhere to our skin, and without adheration, there cannot be infection. So, colonization of pathogens is also resisted by normal flora. Human normal flora are residing at various anatomical locations like nose, eyes, mouth, skin, intestine, urinary tract infection, genital systems, and many other regions. These are the types of bacteria or the types of microbes that you find at different anatomical location, their probable numbers and their types. So as you can see, it's a huge variety, especially in colon, a huge list of microbes in ileum also. So these are definitely going to play some role in our body, and that's why they are there. So we will mainly concentrate on normal flora of gastrointestinal tract, or what we call as GI tract. At birth, the entire intestinal tract is sterile. Bacteria enter with the first feed. The first feed that a baby takes, it is the entry portal for the bacteria to enter into that baby's body. The initial colonizing bacteria vary with the food source of the infant. What you give to the baby, what is being given fed to the baby decides what sort of bacteria or what sort of microbes colonize the inner intestinal tract of this neonatal. Initially, this microbiota variety depends upon mother's microbiota. This is very natural because baby will constantly be in contact with mother. Even at the time of birth, baby comes in contact with maternal vaginal areas, intestinal flora, and many other things. And hence that is the source of bacteria which colonizes intestine of the newborn baby. Secondly, the mode of delivery is also very important, whether it's been a normal delivery, the baby has traveled through the vaginal area, so the chances of getting mother's vaginal microbiota on the surface increases. But if the baby has been taken by C-section, then it's not going to come in contact with mother's microbes of the vaginal area, and hence this type of baby would not be having those microbes at the initial time as their normal flora. Birth environment also plays very important role, whether it's a very hygienic and sterile operation theater or it's some like a public health center, or is it your room, or is it some village place? So what is the hygienic condition of the birthplace also plays very important role. Rarely genetic factors. After infantry, probiotics supplied from raw foods such as lactic acid fermented food like yogurt, cheese, probiotic supplements. So once these normal microbes from mother, from environment, from other objects make their way into the baby's body, then comes the role of probiotics. And these probiotics normally come from certain raw foods which we give to baby, like fermented food, yogurt, cheese, curd, etc. These are some of the factors which affect intestinal microbial ecosystem. Antibiotics and other drug intake, if mother is taking, or sorry, if baby is given any such antibiotic, then that is also going to affect the intestinal microsystem. Microbial infections. Naturally, if the baby is suffering with an infection at that time, then those microbes are going to be a part of the microbial ecosystem of the baby at that time. Diet, what sort of food is given to the person, whether it is low in fiber, it is highly processed. Chronic diarrhea, certain chronic diseases also add to the microbiota of a particular ecosystem. Stress condition, this is very important. Till recent past, we were not believing that what we think decides how we will be. But now it is a scientifically proven fact that our health depends upon our mental stress, our mental condition. Sorry. Chlorinated water also plays a role, because you know that chlorine is an antimicrobial agent, so it's going to affect our intestinal flora. Radiation and chemotherapy, if a person has to have radiation or chemotherapy after cancer, then that is also going to reduce the number of and the variety of normal flora of our gastrointestinal system. And colonic therapies for detoxification, these are also very important way of getting rid of certain normal flora from the intestinal ecosystem. Now, these are the residential flora as we were talking about. They are acquired rapidly during and after the birth. During the birth, when the baby is passing through the vaginal tunnel, and after the birth, from the nurses, from the doctors, from the bed sheets, from the hands of people everywhere. So the baby gathers these resident flora from everywhere. They changes continuously throughout life. So resident flora normally changes, not a huge change, but they change as per your change in the environmental condition. Resident flora reflects your nutrition also. What sort of nutrition you are taking, what sort of food you are habituated to take, all these things decides resident flora. A balanced diet is must. So this is, as you can see, a balanced diet. Normally, this is the balanced diet of India. If you go anywhere else, this would be considered as a diet for one whole week. But this is our one-time meal, and this is our balanced diet. All these things we eat, and we really enjoy it. We actually love to eat these things. So this is our food. But every food is not good. As you can see here, the food is resulting in obesity. Obesity results into various other secondary, tertiary complications. You can see here that if your food is not properly balanced in nutrition, then you need to be supplemented with some other either pint, or you get diseased. So it is very important that you take a balanced food. You take a balanced diet. And for that, you must understand the food groups. Scientifically, diet is divided into various food groups according to the nature of the particular food type. For example, there are certain food types which we need for bodybuilding, like proteins. There are certain food types which we need for energy, like carbohydrates, and certain food that we need for protection, like again proteins. So our food, our diet must have a very rational combination of all these things. Now this is one comic sort of picture. Certain friendly bacteria, certain unfriendly bacteria. Friendly bacteria are continuously struggling to keep you healthy, while the unfriendly bacteria, they try to make you uncomfortable. So friendly bacteria are Lactobacillus acidophilus, Lactobacillus salivarius, KZ, Thermophilus, Bifidobacterium, Bifidum, Longum, etc. While unfriendly bacteria are pathogenic bacteria and fungi like Candida albicans, etc. Now, as our topic is probiotics, you must be wondering that I'm speaking with you, just discussing with you so many aspects about food, but not a single time have I uttered the word probiotics. So what actually is going on? Well, we are now coming to our main topic, and that is probiotics. And it has its relation with balanced diet. Probiotic word, as you know, is made up of two words. One pro, another biota. Pro means towards, bio life. The food that works towards giving you a healthy life. The food that is functional food. They do some function for you. And what is that function? They give you good health. And which are these foods that gives you good health? These are those foods that gives you good health. Milk and milk products, yogurt, cheese, then tofu, and various other food products, Yakult, as you can see, all these are functional foods. They give you a good health. And these functional foods are important to be a part of our nutrition. Why? Because functional foods are the substances or supplementaries that are administered to obtain a specific result. Many times you must have heard that when you are on an antibiotic therapy, you get diarrheal feeling due to antibiotics. You get stomach upset due to that antibiotic therapy. And when you go to your doctor tells you to have curd or buttermilk. What is there in curd or what is there in buttermilk? Actually, buttermilk and curd are functional foods because they are rich in probiotics. So these functional foods which have got probiotics in them, they work as a supplementary, as a helping hand to get some specific results. They are also called nutraceuticals or biotherapeutics. Nutraceutical is a word made up of two words, nutrients as pharmaceuticals, nutrients as medicines. So they are nutraceuticals, or they are also called as biotherapeutics. Examples of biotherapeutics, prebiotics and probiotics. So what are prebiotics? These are the non-digestible food supplements or ingredients not absorbed or degraded by our stomach or our intestine, alter the balance of intestinal flora, and by acting as substrate stimulate the growth of beneficial bacteria like lactobacillus and bifidobacteria. These are the examples. So prebiotics are those compounds which help our intestine to maintain a good balance between the good and the bad bacteria, or these are the compounds which are when ingested, which are when administered, they help in increasing the number of our friendly microbiota. Our body cannot digest it. Our body cannot absorb it. Only good bacteria whose number we wish to increase can digest it, can act on it, and hence the friendly bacterial colonization increases and our health improves. These compounds are called prebiotics. Examples are fructooligosaccharides like oligofructose, then isomalto oligosaccharide, then xylo-oligosaccharide, inulin, fibrous foods, then oligomate, palatinose, pyrodextrine, raftilene, these all are working as prebiotics. And you get these prebiotics from these compounds. Prebiotic in garlic is very important, and that's why garlic has been a part of our food since long. So what are the characteristics of a good prebiotic? Should not be hydrolyzed or absorbed in the host GI tract. That is, our GI tract should not absorb it. Should be a selective substrate for one or all of the potentially good bacterial. The bacteria which are going to be our friend should be able to alter the colonic microflora towards healthier composition. That means the number of healthy microorganisms should increase when they consume prebiotics and stimulate the growth or activity of intestinal bacteria associated with health and well-being. Those intestinal microbes which increases our health, which takes us towards well-being, their number is increased and should help increase the absorption of certain minerals such as calcium and magnesium. So prebiotics are having favorable effect on our immune system also and provide improved resistance against infection. So that was about prebiotics. Now probiotics. Again, a question might come in your mind. Why did we discuss prebiotics? Our topic was probiotics. It is because probiotics depends upon prebiotics. How? We will see now. So these are the non-pathogenic live microbial food supplement. These are the microbes which are living. We take them as a supplement. So they are the food supplement, non-pathogenic live microbial consortium. These are the organisms when administered in adequate amount. This is very important. When administered in adequate amount, they exert a positive influence on the health of the host animal. These are the live organisms that benefit the host animal by improving intestinal microbial balance. So their major role is to improve the balance between the good and the bad in our intestine, usually administered in yogurt form, curd form, buttermilk form, cheese form, or as capsules as well. What is symbiotic? Syn, as you know, means together. Biotic means life, the life that is spent together. So here when you are administered with probiotics and prebiotics, means you have been given a symbiotic. Why you need to do that? You need to do that because you want the probiotics that you have consumed to increase in number once it goes inside your system and to help them preferentially to grow. You need to have prebiotics. So foods containing the combination of probiotic and prebiotic are referred to as symbiotic. Improved survival in upper GI tract and more efficient implantation. This combination is more preferred rather than to have probiotics alone because probiotics survive better in GI tract when they are with prebiotics. So what are probiotics? Actually what they are. What does FAO or WHO say about it? So these are the live organisms which when administered in adequate amount confer means give a good health benefit on the host. Probiotic microorganisms can be found in both supplement form as well as component of food and beverages. Either you take them in the pure form as a tablet or as a suspension. So that is in the supplement form. Even as powdered they are available. You just have to suspend the powder in the liquid like water and drink it. Or they are actually the part of the recipe of some food like or some beverages like acidophilus milk or cheese. Mechnikov, as we all know him very well, Ali Mechnikov in 1907, ingesting yogurt with lactobacilli reduces toxic bacteria of the gut and prolongs life. This was his statement. He said that those people who ingest yogurt, and the yogurt should have lactobacilli in it, they have reduced toxic bacteria in the gut and they have prolonged life. Then Kiplov in 1926 stressed importance of Lactobacillus acidophilus for good health. Radger in 1930s said that early clinical application of lactobacilli are huge. Lactobacilli can be used as therapeutics. Parker in 1974 was the first to use the term probiotics for these group of microorganisms, and Fuller in 1989 defined probiotics. Pasteur in 1877, way back, said that antagonistic interaction between bacterial strains occurs in the intestine. Non-pathogenic bacteria should be used to control pathogenic bacteria. This struggle that is going on can be brought to a control with the help of certain non-pathogenic bacteria. Mechnikov was, as we have discussed in the previous slide, a zoologist, and he said that lactic fermentation of milk arrested putrefaction. Putrefaction is the incomplete destruction of protein, generally in the lower intestine, that is large intestine. Mechnikov noted that lactic fermentation means production of lactic acid as a result of fermentative pathway in the milk stops putrefaction. Consumption of fermented products would offer the same benefit to humans. That is, if we consume fermented food products, then we also can arrest the putrefaction activity in the large intestine. Longevity in Bulgarian peasant was due to ingestion of soured milk. So this actually is considered as the beginning of probiotics. That is, it was observed that people in Bulgaria live a very long life, and not only long life, healthy life. And what was the reason for that? The reason was found to be the consumption of soured milk, which we today call as acidophilus milk. In 1980s, Fuller established the first definition of probiotics. So this is Ali Mechnikov described the probiotics for the first time in 1908. This is that town in Bulgaria where his studies were conducted. These were the people with whom he contacted. He found out their age, he saw their way of life, saw their food, and came to the conclusion that consumption of sour milk was responsible for their good life, healthy life. So in early 1930s in Japan, Minoru Shirota developed a fermented milk product called Yakult, probiotic yogurt-like product, which is made by fermenting a mixture of skimmed milk with a special strain of Lactobacillus casei shirota. So that is how Yakult is made. You have to add Lactobacillus casei variety shirota in it. The milk has to be skimmed milk, free of fat, and what you get is Yakult, and it is having a registered trademark of Minoru Shirota. Probiotic term coined in 1965 by Lilly and Stilwell. Lactobacilli are anaerobic gram-positive rods, generally Lactobacilli casei, Lactobacilli plantarum, Lactobacilli acidophilus, Lactobacilli deuteri, they all work as probiotics. Then bifidobacteria, which are anaerobic gram-positive rods, they are also responsible to work as a probiotics. There are certain consortiums, a group of organisms which work as probiotic. There are 3 bifidobacteria in it, 1 streptococcus, 4 lactobacilli, 8 other organisms. They all work as probiotics. Other organisms include Enterococcus, Streptococcus, Saccharomyces, etc. Now here is a comparison between prebiotics and probiotics. So prebiotics are usually carbohydrates because the role of prebiotic is to keep probiotic healthy for a long time and to help them increase their number, for which you need energy naturally. So prebiotics are usually carbohydrates, probiotics are always microorganisms. Prebiotics are never alive, they are chemical compounds, while probiotics are always alive because they are the live microorganisms. Prebiotic beneficial health effect, while probiotics also have beneficial health effect. Prebiotic can be a component of your food, it can be a food ingredient, while probiotic can be a food itself, or it can be a food supplement, or you can take it as a drug as well. Prebiotic act on microbiota, they help these microbiota to increase their number, while probiotic may act on microbiota, but there are other mechanisms also. The focus of prebiotic is colon. When it goes into the colon, that is large intestine, the bacterial number increases, putrefaction reduces, and digestion becomes faster. But broader effects are also seen. And probiotic can act on numerous sites around the body. It is not restricted only to the colon. How is normal mucosal immune function maintained? You know that our gastrointestinal tract secretes certain secretions like saliva, acid, bile, etc. Then we have mucous membrane. There are certain normal peristalsis and barrier functions, that is tight junctions. Intestinal proteolysis, intestinal immune cells, IgA production and secretion. So how is normal mucosal immune function maintained? So generally the immune cells, the cells of immune system which are going to produce antibodies, and these antibodies are going to come into the secretion of the body like saliva, tears, etc. So here also probiotics play very important role. They help in IgA production, they help in IgA secretion, they help in making immune cells of intestine very powerful. So all these functions requires involvement of prokaryotes. So this is your intestinal microecology, certain GI secretions, then gut wall secretions, and microbial flora of intestine. Human GI tract contains 10 times more bacteria than eukaryotic cells in the body. So as I've told you that single cell of our body is a house to 10 times more number of microbes. They protect the host by stimulating immune function and producing antimicrobial substances. The microbes which are present in our GI tract, gastrointestinal tract, they have important role to protect us and to stimulate immune system. Trophic effect of intestinal epithelium. Trophic effect means the effect of what we eat, the feeding habits. So our intestinal epithelium is also affected by trophic effect. Maintains the enterohepatic circulation of bile acids. Bile acids are very important in digestion, especially of lipids. And the circulation of the bile acids is also very important. So that is also done inside the host. Involved in metabolic processes like fermentation in the colon. So a symbiotic relation with host. What does intestinal flora do to the host? Intestinal flora lives a symbiotic life with the host. They protect the host, they show the trophic effect on the intestinal epithelium, they maintain enterohepatic circulation of bile acid, and they help in various metabolic processes. Which type of microbes you are going to have in your gut? That depends upon factors like genetic factor, age, your gender, mother's microbiology, mode of delivery, feeding practices like breastfed. If the baby is breastfed, then the chances of bifidobacterium entering into the baby is more. If the baby is bottle fed, then the chances of lactobacilli is more. Comorbid conditions. Comorbid conditions play a very important role. You know that even today in this COVID pandemic situation, people with comorbid conditions are highly susceptible. So comorbid condition includes having hypertension or diabetes. So comorbid conditions can also be improved with the help of gut flora. Medication that you take, the diet that you take also decides the composition of your microbiota. Predominant human fecal flora, the flora which are present in your fecal material, they are generally aerobic organisms like E. coli, Enterococcus, Streptococcus, Bacillus, Citrobacteria, Klebsiella, etc. Anaerobic species, anaerobic cocci, bacteroids, Eubacterium, Bifidobacterium, Lactobacillus, Fusobacterium, Clostridium, etc. Conditions that can disrupt normal gut flora homeostasis. Now we have learned that just few slides back that there are certain opportunistic normal flora. These are the one which generally under normal conditions does not harm us. But when we are involved in something else, like when you have some primary infection and your immune system is busy protecting you against that, so this normal flora finds an opportunity and they cause harm to you. So this is known as condition where you need to be very alert while taking some medication. So medication like antibiotics can disrupt the balance between the normal flora. Surgery also causes the same due to blood loss or due to some trauma. Radiation therapy, your diet, comorbid diseases like Crohn's syndrome or scleroderma, these are some of the situations. These are some of the complications which are, if present, then the normal flora of the gut becomes disrupted. Homeostasis means just as it is, the situation as such. So probiotics are the organisms which play a very important role in maintaining the flora of your intestinal tract. These are some of the properties of probiotics. They must be of human origin, safe to use in large amounts in clinical practice, resist secretions of the upper GI tract, survive passage through the GI tract, and adhere to human intestinal wall. So these probiotics are of our own body origin, they are the human origin. They are safe to use in large amount during clinical practice. They do not allow the pathogens in the GI tract to secrete the secretions and start to establish there. They can also live safe, pass safe through the entire gastrointestinal tract, and they adhere to human intestinal cells so that other microbes cannot come and colonize there. They are able to colonize the lumen of the GI tract, help to protect the cells against invasion by pathogens. So very important. These probiotics do not allow the pathogens to establish because, as I've just told you, for establishment, adherence is very important. And to adhere, you need a space, while pathogens are searching for the space and probiotics are not letting them adhere at any place. So they help to protect cells against invasion. Invasion means outside attack by pathogens. They do this by production of antimicrobial substances like hydrogen peroxide, certain organic acids, and bacteriocins. Antagonize carcinogenic and pathogenic flora. Antagonize means they are working against each other. They do not like them. What they don't like? Carcinogenic, cancer causing, pathogenic flora. What is the mechanism of action of a probiotic? Competitive inhibition, barrier protection, immune effect, anti-inflammatory effects, production of various substances like enzymes, SCFA, bactericidal agent, ability to alter local pH and physiology, provides nutrition to colonocyst. So what do you understand by competitive inhibition? Now we are going to see how probiotics help us. So for that we need to study its certain general properties. One of the properties is competitive inhibition. So what do you understand by that? Helps to restore the balance of good bacteria and bad bacteria. So we know that already. Facilitates the growth of healthy bacteria, that is Bifidobacterium and Lactobacilli. Bifidobacterium infantis inhibits the growth of Salmonella. So that is competitive inhibition. By consuming the good bacteria, by taking up the good bacteria, it is in fact removing the bad bacteria. Probiotics helps to restore the balance between the good and the bad bacteria. It also helps the growth of healthy bacteria like Bifidobacterium and Lactobacilli. Intestinal permeability to bacteria is increased with inflammation. This is Dr. Crohn's syndrome. It is known as Crohn's syndrome. So intestinal permeability to bacteria means intestine can now easily absorb bacteria. Pre-treatment with Lactobacillus plantarum 299 versus a variety inhibits E. coli intestinal permeability. So Mangal et al. Found out that if there is a pre-treatment with Lactobacillus plantarum, then 299 variety, then E. coli cannot make its intestinal permeability. Bifidobacterium infantis prevents bacteria, that is Salmonella translocation, means from moving one place to other. So these are the functions of intestinal flora, the flora or the pathogens or the microbes which are found in intestine. So protective function, structural function, and metabolic function. In the protective function, you can make a commercial composition of bacteria, pathogenic displacement. They do not allow pathogen to establish by not providing them the space. Nutrient competition. They compete with the pathogens for the available nutrient and do not give enough nutrients to pathogen to establish. Then receptor competition. Receptor competition means it does not allow certain molecules to attach and to start certain metabolic process. Production of antimicrobial factors, example bacteriocins, lactic acids, etc. So this is the protective function of lactobacilli. What is its structural function? Barrier fortification. What is barrier fortification? It is like a wall, does not allow the pathogens to go in. Induction of IgA. It induces the body to make IgA naturally because IgA is a secretory antibody which goes into the body secretion. Apical tightening of light junctions. So that is what their structural function is. And immune system development. Immune system development is the most important role of intestinal normal flora. Then metabolic functions control IEC differentiation and proliferation, then metabolize dietary carcinogens. So all these are the metabolic functions of normal flora. What are their immune functions? Here we have studied protective functions, structural functions, metabolic functions. Now we study immune function. Mononuclear cells incubated with, what are mononuclear cells? The cells which have got a single nucleus, say for example, monocytes. Incubated with lactobacilli produce higher levels of interferon gamma, tumor necrotic factor alpha alpha, and interleukin 1. So mononuclear cells incubated with lactobacilli produce higher levels of IFN gamma, TNF alpha, and IL-1. What do you understand by incubated with lactobacilli? That means they are co-resident of a place working together. Bifidobacteria suppressed the pro-inflammatory mediators, tumor necrotic factor alpha, interferon gamma, interleukin 12 in mural model of IBD. So bifidobacteria suppressed the pro-inflammatory mediators. Bifidobacterium is a type of probacteria. It suppresses the pro-inflammatory mediators, the mediators that may really cause inflammation in the host. So this tumor necrotic factor alpha or interleukin 1 or interferon gamma, they actually suppresses the inflammatory mediators to be released to be act upon by bifidobacterium. In healthy volunteers, Lactobacillus rhamnosus is one of the species of lactobacillus, increased phagocytic activity and natural killer tumor cell killing activity. So these are the immune functions of probiotic. We have studied their metabolic functions. We have also studied here their protective role, but now they are as a immune function provider. Borule and colleagues assayed ileal specimen from Crohn's patients and compared to 5 controls, and they found out that specimens cultured with various bacteria were also able to produce antibiotics. So these people assayed ileum specimen from Crohn's patient and compared to 5 control people who did not have any problem with liver. So they were right hemicolectomy for colon cancer. So this was done to study the effect of ileal, that is large intestine specimen, on the immune function of a patient. It was found out that when the specimens were cultured with various bacteria of lactobacilli type, the CD4 levels and tumor necrotic factor alpha levels reduced in Crohn's explant, but not in normal volunteers. So what is the impression? Probiotic interact with immunocompetent cells to modulate the production of pro-inflammatory cytokines from ileal tissues in Crohn's patient. What does this actually mean? This actually means that ileal specimens, the specimens which were taken from the fecal material from the ileal side with Crohn's patient, 10 patients, and compared with 5 control people whose liver, that is, the colon cancer was removed by operation. The specimen cultured with various types of lactobacilli. These specimens, these tissues that were collected was cultured with various types of lactobacilli, and it was found out that the CD4 level and tumor necrotic factor alpha level were reduced in explants from Crohn's syndrome patient, but not normal volunteers. That means probiotics interact with immunocompetent cells to modulate the production of pro-inflammatory cytokines. They help in production of cytokines which help in inflammatory reaction and curing the patient. So apart from producing immune chemicals like tumor necrotic factor alpha, interferon gamma, IL-1, IL-2, what else does these organisms make so that they help us even apart from vitamins? Intestinal bacteria play a key role in production of short chain fatty acids. SCFA. So they are very, very powerful producer of SCFA. For example, butyric acid is the main fuel for colonocytes. Lactobacillus plantarum appeared to increase production of butyric acid in 36 healthy volunteers, leading to reduction in fibrinogen, leptin, and monocyte adhesive properties. So these short chain fatty acids help in people to reduce the fibrinogen, leptin, and monocyte adhesion property. Hence, they help in autocoagulation of blood components. Impact on local physiology. Sorry. Example, antibiotic associated diarrhea. This is very common among people. If you are on antibiotic therapy for a long time due to some diseases, then it's definitely going to affect your digestion, your bowel movement. You find painful things going on within your stomach, everything going up and down. So this can be treated very properly with lactobacilli. It restores resident flora. The flora, which are your friends, they have also been removed by antibiotics. So lactobacilli restores those flora, increases production of short chain fatty acids. They are absorbed by diffusion, leading to increased water and sodium absorption. This stimulates colonocyte proliferation, which may further improve water and sodium reabsorption, and hence the diarrhea is under control. These are some main areas of pathophysiological interest in which probiotics and prebiotic role has been studied. This is the potential mechanism of action of probiotics. Probiotics help in colonization resistance. They do not allow the pathogen to colonize. Another is metabolic effect. They produce bacteriocin that decreases pH, quorum sensing, and hence does not allow pathogens to establish. Modulation of signal transduction. They do not allow the pathogens to establish by modulating the signal transduction. So interferon gamma is produced, indicating that this pathogen is to be removed. Then maintain barrier function. They maintain a barrier function. Reduce macromolecular permeability. Do not allow various molecules to permeate properly. And bacterial translocation. Maintains tight junction. Does not allow pathogen to either enter or go out properly. Enhances microbial flora, and they help in innate or adaptive immunomodulation. They do this by producing antimicrobial compounds, destruction of toxin receptors, competitive exclusion, organic acid production, enhanced barrier function. So all these things are the functions of probiotics which help us. Apart from this, there are certain diverse functions also, like allergy. They are responsible sometimes in atopic dermatitis. They also are good medicine for asthma. Encompassing effect like the overall effect, growth parameters of undernourished children, reduced absence from work, daycare. So many a times children, especially small children who are undernourished, those who are not going to school properly, those who are not going to daycare properly, they are given probiotics to improve their digestion, to improve their health, so that they become regular in their day-to-day activity. For allergy like atopic dermatitis and asthma, probiotics are very important. Then oral microbiology, dental caries can also be treated with probiotics. Skin inflammation, vaginal infection, gut pain, inflammatory bowel condition, then lactose indigestion, traveler's diarrhea, all these can be treated very well with probiotics. And metabolic syndromes also. like obesity and diabetes. This is probiotics in the treatment of gastrointestinal disorders. So again, the same thing which we saw in the previous slide, but here it is diagrammatically explained that probiotics help in diarrhea treatment, acute infectious, antibiotic associated diarrhea treatment, lactose intolerance, constipation. They are also help in ulcerative colitis, in Crohn's disease. They are help in various other types of problems which are associated with your gastrointestinal tract. So we can say that probiotics, which are our friendly bacteria, generally do three things: normalizes intestine, helps in immune reaction, and gives positive metabolic effect. How do they normalize intestine? Suppression of PPMS, that is, they do not allow the pathogens to be established there in the intestine. They increases intestinal mucosal integrity and they regulate the bowel movement. How do they help in immunomodulation? Strengthens the immunity, alleviates food allergy symptoms, and control irregular bowel movement. Production of vitamins and improves digestion, lactose intolerance, and lowers cholesterol, bile acid deconjugation and secretion. These are the potential uses, the same thing but in a different way. This is infectious diarrhea, which occurs generally due to bacteria, sometimes virus, and sometimes protozoa also. If it is viral diarrhea caused by rotavirus, if bacterial, then generally caused by E. coli, Salmonella, Shigella, cholera. If protozoal, by Entamoeba histolytica. Medication for viral diarrhea is ORS or infusion. For bacterial, to take antibacterial, and for protozoal, to take metronidazole. In all the three types, there is a disturbance of the intestinal microflora. Hence, supplementation with Bifilec normalizes the gut flora. So when you are suffering with this, you are given medication and these medication disrupts your normal intestinal flora. So this normal intestinal flora is to be supplemented from outside and displacing the pathogenic microbial flora, and hence the diarrheal condition is reduced. So how does it work? This is the proposed mechanism. Mechanism is that maybe producing free amino acids, organic acids, beta lactosidase activity, oligosaccharides, cholesterol assimilation, short chain fatty acid production, bioactive peptide production, bacteriocin peptide production, antioxidant, immunostimulatory, neutralization of dietary carcinogens. So many arenas are there where probiotics help us. So this is actually an animation which shows how they help us. So what you see here as a blue colored structure, they are our intestinal epithelium. Microorganisms attaches to them. Now with the help of M cells, as you know, they come inside the intestinal lumen. So here they have come inside the intestinal lumen. In the intestinal lumen, the antigen presenting cells recognize them and antigen presenting cells engulf them and present them with MHC class 2 molecule on their surface. So when antigenic residues are presented on the surface of APC with MHC class 2, then lymphocytes, T lymphocytes come in the near vicinity. These produces a trimolecular complex of the APC, antigenic residue, and T lymphocyte, and as a result, the T lymphocyte carries out clonal selection. They make a clone, that is T helper cell population. The lymphocytes which are called upon at that place can either be T lymphocyte and carry out cell mediated response, or they are B lymphocyte and carry out humoral response. If cell mediated response is to be needed, then Th0 is then converted to Th1 population under the effect of interleukin 2 and interferon gamma. If humoral immunity is required, then it is interleukin 4, interleukin 10, TGF beta, all these come in the vicinity to make a Th2 response, and as a result body shows either the antibody production or cytotoxic T cell production, and ultimately the viruses or the tumors or the self-reactive cells or any other pathogens, they are thrown out of the body. So antibiotic associated diarrhea, then this is how the colitis is also reduced. Probiotic decreases diarrhea, so this is the probiotic group, placebo group. People who were given probiotic had 46% cases only. Those who were in placebo, they had 78%. So this is Clostridium difficile associated diarrhea, CDAD. Same mechanism applies here as well. So lactose intolerance, this is yet another problem which can be solved with probiotics. You know that there are certain babies who cannot digest lactose and they throw it out, so that is lactose intolerance. Lactase digest lactose commonly present in milk and milk products. Lactose is not digested when there is a deficiency in lactase. This results in diarrhea. Supplementation with probiotics has been shown to mitigate the symptoms of lactose intolerance. Then recurrent ephthous ulcers, that is your mouth ulcer, they can also be treated with probiotics. Superficial ulcers or fissures in mucosa of mouth, which is a painful condition. Each episode lasts 8 to 14 days. We don't know what actually causes these ulcers, but vitamin B complex, medication is vitamin B complex, multivitamin, probiotics and antiseptic or tetracycline in mouthwash is a very good solution to cure these ulcers. Traveler's diarrhea is also very common in people who travel a lot, especially international travelers. So there is a transmission of infection, especially through water. Fecal-oral route or fingers and flies are responsible. Affects tourist traveling, like Shigella is responsible, E. coli is responsible. Traveler's diarrhea can be prevented by regular prophylactic intake of beneficial bacteria. 1 week before travel or during travel and 1 week after the travel gets over, if you take a regular dose of probiotics, you do not get traveler's diarrhea. IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. It is a chronic medical condition characterized by abdominal pain, discomfort, and results in change in the bowel frequency and consistency in the stool. Causes alteration in the bowel motility and transit due to anxiety, less intake of water, etc. Symptoms is bloating, gas, dysphagia, constipation, diarrhea, etc. So here also the intake of probiotics is going to be very much useful. Generally, the medication which is given at this stage is sulfacelanise, steroids or some immunosuppressants. But if probiotics are given, then these probiotics, supplementation with probiotics help to normalize the bowel flora and thereby reduces inflammatory reactions. Then pouchitis. Pouchitis is inflammation of an internal pouch created in patients who have part of their colon removed to treat ulcerative colitis. So when a part of your colon is removed, either due to ulcer or due to cancer, a pouch, empty pocket is created. And inflammation of that empty pocket is known as pouchitis. So the another is diverticulitis. It is the formation of small bulges or bags in the colon. This is also because of some inflammation or infection. So all these things can be treated very well with probiotics, or still better symbiotic, that is a mixture of pre and probiotics. So probiotic helps in reducing the PPMS. PPMS means it is the effect of the microbial adherence to the intestinal wall, while prebiotics helps in providing food to probiotics so that they can flourish well and they can clear the symptoms and can help us. What is the current market position of probiotics? There is a growing public and scientific interest in probiotics. Global probiotic market estimated at billions of dollars per year. Hundreds of probiotics are available as food or dietary supplements or skin products or pet products. And the awareness of probiotics in current market is continuously increasing. So this is the US specialty supplement sales for the product. So sales is continuously going on and it is increasing. Probiotic supplements in 2009 estimated to 405 million, and today it is more than 10 times. Human Microbiome Project (HMP) aims to characterize the microbial communities found at several different sites on the human body. As you have Human Genome Project, similarly Human Microbiome Project has been taken up, where different microbial communities found at different locations in the human body, including nasal passage, oral cavities, skin, gastrointestinal tract, and urinogenital tract, has been taken up to analyze the role of these microbes in our health as well as resistance to disease. The clinical research activities trended currently is also going on. Large number of clinical trials for probiotics are going on. But just like everything else, there are certain misconceptions also. Misconceptions means some misunderstandings, misfact regarding probiotics. Probiotics are live active culture. Probiotics are synonymous with native commensal bacteria. More is not better. Generally, we believe that if we take more and more, then we are going to be benefited more and more. That is not true. There has to be a specific dose, and there has to be a specific type of lactobacilli, a type of probiotic that is required. All cannot take up every form of probiotic at any given time. The effect of probiotic is genus specific. You are taking lactobacilli, you are taking bifidobacterium, you are taking leuconostoc, which you are taking. Accordingly, you are going to get the benefit. What are the dosage? The dose of probiotic is usually expressed as the number of colony forming units, that is each cell which is going to be divided into a colony. The required dose of probiotic may vary greatly for different strains. So depending upon which probiotic you have chosen, its dose is going to get changed, and the specific health effect for which you are going to take this. Then probiotic effect should be considered dose specific, and dose listed on the label must be based on studies that show a health effect on human. So depending upon how useful it is to the human, the dosage are listed. Effects are considered strain specific for most probiotics. So different strains of same species can be different. So genus, species, then strain designation like lactobacilli, then lactobacillus casei, then lactobacillus casei DN114001. So that is how it is generally specific. Clinical support to substantiate claims must be for each probiotic strain. When you say that Lactobacilli is a good probiotic, then this cannot do. You have to say Lactobacilli KZ is a good probiotic. So your clinical claim must be for individual species and not for the group as a whole. You can compare the claims only when you are using the same strain, same dose and the same formulation. And when you are looking for the quality control in probiotics, like if a firm is engaged in producing probiotic powders or probiotic syrups, then there are some quality control measures which are to be taken care of. These measures are the source animal or human from which the probiotics have been used, and whether that human or animal was a normal or a diseased one. What is the formulation, whether the probiotics are in the liquid form, they are in the solid form, they are in the powdered form. What is the safety, the risk to the population, are they pathogenic, are they totally harmless? What is the characterization, that is purity of the strain, viability, how many colony forming units are delivered. Suppose you are giving 100 cells to an individual, are all 100 cells going to divide into 100 colonies? If yes, then viability is 100%. Otherwise, as many number of cells have given colonies, those many number of cells are viable. Dose response studies, that is go on increasing the dose and see the effect, that is dose response study. And the dose which gives the maximum response is the dose that is to be given. Combinations or cocktails, that is different probiotic strains are combined together to give the best result. Dose listed on label should accurately refer dose in the product at the end of the shelf life. Reflect dose in the product at the end of shelf life. That means whatever product you are buying from the market, it is going to show you that these many number of viable cells, but then those many number of viable cells should remain present at the end of the shelf life also. Many probiotic supplements don't deliver listed ingredient. They've listed so many things, but actually it gives very few. Safety of probiotics. The safety of probiotic is strain specific. Every strain is not equally safe. The genus and species of the microbe being used should be assessed with respect to its genetic stability, before giving it as a medicine, before giving it as a supplement, before giving it as a remedy. Every probiotic species must be assessed with respect to its genetic stability, metabolic activity, potential for pathogenicity or toxicogenicity, method of administration, whether it is to be given orally or it is to be applied or it is to be ingested, level of exposure, health status of the user, physiological function. So all these are the measures which are to be taken care of. Few correlations between probiotic use and adverse events have been demonstrated. There are certain cases where we have come up with side effects or we have come up with adverse effects of use of probiotic. Although probiotics marketed as food and dietary supplements should be safe for the generally healthy population, their safety has not been asserted on individuals with underlying health conditions. So to healthy people, they give them more health. But to people with some underlying conditions, we don't know what would be the effect of probiotic. Government also has some regulatory rules regarding that. Probiotics in the US are food or dietary supplements and therefore regulated by the Dietary Supplements Health and Education Act. Structure and function claims for impact on the structure or functioning of the normal human body. This food can support a healthy immune system. This supplement can help maintain a healthy digestive tract. So you cannot make these statements unless and until you prove it that this is really a good food which supports healthy human system. Claims are required by FDA to be truthful and not misleading. FDA should also give its approval and should say that whatever is being claimed by the company is true and it is not misleading and supported by competent and reliable scientific evidence. So the clinical research, the preclinical research, they all are for the competent and reliable scientific evidence. Not allowable claims. What you cannot claim. The FDA does not allow any statement on a food or supplement that would communicate benefits on reducing the risk of acute disease. A company cannot write on its probiotic pouch or the bottle that it reduces the risk of acute disease like cold, flu, GI infection. It is not allowed. Managing symptoms in people who are not healthy, inpatient or people with diagnosed conditions such as IBS. They cannot claim that those who are ill, sick will become healthy. Improving therapeutic efficacy of drug. The company cannot claim that my probiotic is going to make the drug more effective, the drug or the antibiotic which you are taking more effective. No, you cannot claim that. Managing side effects of drug. A probiotic cannot manage the side effect of a drug like antibiotic, even if such use is recognized as safe in the target population. Even if you have found out that it does, you cannot claim it. It is not allowed. What are the challenges for consumers? Like if you are a consumer, you are interested in taking a probiotic, then what are the challenges that you face? Lots of misinformation. So many people, so many journals, so many books saying such a lot of informations or misinformations about probiotics. Consumers don't know what products are good ones. They even don't know what are probiotics. They don't know which microbes are probiotics. They don't know what actually is probiotic towards life, giving good conditions, giving good health. But how? They don't know. Limited third-party assessment of health benefit claims. Whatever is written on the bottle, they need to accept it. Disconnect between scientific evidence available on probiotic and what regulatory authorities will allow to be communicated. Government allows something and does not allow something to be written on the bottles or on the strips of probiotics or on the functional food packets. But generally something else is only written. All products in USA are foods or supplements not intended for use in non-healthy population. So whatever probiotic food are available in USA market today, they are not intended for use in non-healthy population. Only those who are healthy can consume it. Then how to choose a probiotic? You have to pay attention on the strain, that is different strains of even the same species can be different. Clinically proven, the probiotics which are clinically tested in humans and have definitely shown health benefits, they are only to be taken. Product website should cite efficacy studies. The product website should give you all the details about their clinical research. Truthful claims. Any claims which are made on the product should be true and it should not be misleading. Not all manufacturers have efficacy substantiation. Every manufacturer cannot provide you the quality product. So patients should consult their doctors before they go for any probiotics. Dosage are also to be matched with the need of the patient. So different probiotics have been shown to be effective at different levels. It is not possible to provide one dose for every probiotic. That depends upon how efficient they are or how powerful they are. Food or supplement, whether you want probiotic as food or probiotic as supplement. If you want probiotic as food, then you have to go for functional food like yogurt, cheese, curd, buttermilk, acidophilus milk, kefir, like that. Or if you want it as a supplement, then you can go for the pouch or the sachet or the tablet, etc. Probiotic consumption. Minimum consumption is generally 100 grams of probiotic food with 10 raised to 7 colony forming units per gram. So in the market now you have probiotic ice creams available, fruit probiotic desserts available, yogurt is available, Yakult is available, cultured buttermilk is available, kefir is available. So all these things which are available in the market, which are functional food, you must consume 100 grams with 10 raised to 7 CFU per gram. Most probiotics do not permanently adhere in the intestine but exert their effect as they metabolize and grow during their passage through the intestine. So these lactobacilli does not have immortality. They also die. They also go out of our intestine. But before that, they attach there, metabolize there, colonize there. They make their progeny and later on they go. Thus, daily consumption of these bacteria is probably the best way to maintain their effectiveness. And that's why in our Indian food, we have the habit of consuming curd daily or consuming buttermilk daily because we are taking the daily dosage of these probiotics. These are some of the probiotic foods available in the market. Yogurt, usually made from milk, inoculated with Streptococcus thermophilus and other Lactobacillus acidophilus or Bulgaricus strains. It is Turkish in origin, available in innumerable forms and flavors like low-fat chocolate yogurt, drinkable fruit-flavored goat yogurt, neon-colored yogurt in squeeze tubes. So all these are different varieties and forms. Frozen yogurt is made from goat milk, and it has got Lactobacillus thermophilus, Bulgaricus acidophilus, bifidus. All these are the starter cultures. Juices are, yogurt is also available in juice form. The first probiotic juice was launched in the fall of, it was in the fall, uh, in the fall of the few years after the frozen yogurts were given. Then Good Belly organic fruit juice-based probiotic beverage contains Lactobacillus plantarum 299 variety. Then three initial flavor includes brilliant blueberry, peach mango, and strawberry rosehip. Then attuned foods, that is, these are the foods which are in the form of popular food like chocolates and ice creams and bars, etc. So attuned foods are the company which makes chocolate and bars. Attune makes wellness bars in 3 chocolate varieties and 3 yogurt and granola variety. Kashi Vive Probiotic Digestive, they make wellness cereals, so you have this in India also. So it is making wellness cereal, contains billions of CFU of Lactobacillus acidophilus. Then Yakult dairy drink, Yakult is becoming very popular nowadays. It's a probiotic cultured dairy beverage, has citrus flavor, and it is sold in single shot, a very small bottle that you need to drink in a single shot. It contains around 8 billion live and active lactobacilli KZ Shirota cells per bottle. Then Resera rice yogurt. This yogurt is made from rice. An organic non-dairy. It does not have milk. It's non-dairy rice yogurt with whole grains and live active culture. So these are Lactobacillus bulgaricus, Streptococcus thermophilus, Lactobacillus acidophilus, and Bifidobacterium bifidum. These are the probiotics which are present in this. So dosage forms for military. Normally, single cell proteins or food supplements or food additives are very important for military people. And hence it is available in capsule forms also, so that it can be given to these warriors and they can stay good. So standard form is capsule, sticks, powder, blends or chewable tablets. It is also available in sachet form or tablet forms. Food better choice. So rather than taking the probiotics in the form of tablets or in the form of capsules or in the form of sachet, it is always better that you take it as a raw food. take it in your food due to synergistic effect between components of food and probiotic culture, because the probiotic will mix with the food that you are eating and will convert it to the form which is beneficial to you. The natural buffering of stomach acid by food also enhances the stability of consumed probiotics. When you consume probiotics with food, the effect of gastric juice, the gastric acid, will be less on it, and hence it can stay for a longer time. Dairy products containing probiotics provide a number of highly qualitative nutrients like calcium, protein, bioactive peptides, sphingolipids, and conjugated linoleic acids. Incorporating foods containing probiotic into daily food choice can become a lifestyle habit. So you need to incorporate probiotics in your daily food rather than depend upon it in the form of supplements that after every meal you just pop in one tablet. That's not the good habit. Make it a part of your food, your daily food, and so it's going to show you better habit. There are multi-probiotics also. Multi-probiotics means a combination of multiple probiotic strains rather than to have a single strain. Multibionta, then Acidophilus pearls, Kyodophilus, Simprove live activated probiotics. All these are the brand names which are having multiple probiotics, and they are going to give you better positive effect. But as I've said, everything is not hoppy poppy. There are certain side effects of probiotics as well. So let's have a look at the side effects. Rare case causes bloating, diarrhea, abdominal pain. If in excess, it causes infection that require medical attention. People having an underlying disease, a primary disease, or compromised immune system, their immune system is compromised either by giving immunosuppressive drugs, or they are immunodeficient either by birth or due to HIV, or they are having some other drug treatment which is compromising the immune system, then may cause potential health problems like skin rash, fever, bloody stools, etc. Sometimes interact with immunosuppressive drugs leading to life-threatening conditions. So people taking such drugs should avoid it. These are some of the institutes in India which are engaged in research in probiotics. Central Food Technology and Research Institute, Mysore; National Dairy Research Institute, Karnal, Haryana; Institute of Microbial Technology, Chandigarh, India; National Dairy Development Board, Anand, Gujarat; and Nestle Private Limited, Panipat, Haryana. So these are some of the places in India where a very active and very elaborate work on probiotics is being going on. So that was all that I wanted to discuss with you regarding probiotics. So let's have a quick review. Probiotic bacteria confer health benefits by bolstering protective, structural, and metabolic functions in the human body. Not all are equal. Disconnect between scientific evidence and allowable claims. Science says something, experience says something, so that's going to create some misconceptions. Claims should be substantiated with well-controlled clinical studies, and products should be characterized for content and stability by approving authorities like FDA. So these all are the microbes. They are our friends. They are here to help us. The only thing is that we need to understand them, understand the mechanism by which they help us, and we must mix them with those prebiotics, or we must take them with that type of food which enhances their activity, and we get a better benefit from them. So we are the microbes, my friends. So probiotic revolution has begun. Make a habit of taking probiotics in your diet, in your daily food, that can really benefit your overall health. So that is, make this resolution, taking probiotics. So thank you all. Thank you very much for giving me a patient listening. And I'm sure that whatever I have discussed with you is going to be very useful to you, either in teaching your students or making some research that you have currently taken in, or at least in increasing your general knowledge about probiotics. So it was a very nice experience to be with you. I take this opportunity to thank Gujarat University and the organizing committee to consider me fit to be a part of the resource person panel in this refresher course and to give me an opportunity to talk about the topic which is near to my heart, and that is probiotics. So thank you all. I wish you all a very bright future, and I'm sure that you all will come out as an excellent teachers with a very brilliant and very bright future as an academician. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye.